Hi there, thanks for joining me. So today I'm going to do just another vlog video here. It's been, what, few months or something since I made a video, and that's not to say that I haven't been doing a lot of stuff miniature-wise, right? I've been buying things, I've been painting things, but the video part just hasn't been coming together. So this is just a little vlog video. I want to catch you guys up on some of the stuff that I've been doing. One of the biggest things here is this set of Necron warriors. This was my first painting video that I did, was one of these Necron warriors. Now my end result is definitely a bit different from what I had painted in that first miniature, but that first miniature was the basis for how these Necron warriors look, and I think that they came out really, really good. So one of the things I realized with these guys in particular is because they are for kill team. With kill team you have a smaller group, and you really need to be able to differentiate the units from each other. Now, one of the things I like about these sculpts, they're monopose sculpts, but it means that each of them actually do have quite a bit of individuality and character to them. You've got this one guy who's, got like his head busted open, and they all have like a different pose or something about, like one of them has one of the little canoptic scarabs on a rock by its foot and stuff. But sometimes those things are not super obvious. So, I had fun playing around with the bases too. Like this guy who's kind of missing his jaw here on the corner, he's got just a gray base, right? Just gray rocks. And I got to play around with some different, just styles of bases, keeping the same general, like, gray, gravel, and rocks with some green grass in patches and some brown, like, tufts. I think my favorite base is probably the one with it's like a head. Here it is. This one here with the head down there. And I tried to make it so, it's part of the base and it's not detracting from the miniature. But I tried to make it at least so it, like, it's kind of maybe the other thing that you notice about it, hopefully. I may or may not go into more detail about kind of, doing sort of the finishing painting on these, but I think that they're really great. They're super great for the tabletop, and I think I stepped them up maybe like a step, one level up higher than they necessarily needed to be just to get them on the table and sort of be happy with them, because I also wanted to be happy with how they look, and I think I am. I think I like them quite a bit. So another thing I've been doing is preparing to play some solo, like, miniature based dungeon crawling RPGs, right? I picked up a couple of things from 2 Hour War Games. So I got 2 Hour Dungeon Crawl, which seems really cool. I actually did a whole video of a playthrough of that, which I elected not to upload. So I'm going to probably try that again. But my idea, originally, I was thinking, hey, what would I do? Like, what am I going to have for heroes or something? Because, like, I don't have a Dungeons and Dragons hero that I've come up with. And the first thing that popped into my mind was Goblin Slayer. So I've been introduced to a lot of things in the past several months. One of those things is basically 3D models, like 3D printed models, I should say, on Etsy. And I ended up picking up these Goblin Slayer models. They're really cool. You can see here I've primed them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. But we've got, the priestess, the elf, like, mage, or sorry, not elf, the dwarf mage. We've got the elf ranger, and the lizard man, I don't know, priest, something like that. And of course Goblin Slayer. Now Goblin Slayer I have primed in black because he has so much metal on him. I think I prefer to basically do the metal in kind of the style that I did for the Necrons, in more of just a traditional, like, metallic metal, and I think that black is a good base coat for that. The rest of them, I think what I'm going to do is use these brand new speed paints that I got. I got a set of Army Painter's speed paint. It's basically Army Painter's take on the Citadel's, what is it, contrast paints. So I painted up a bunch of just like white, cheap zombies just to get an impression of what the colors really are. And I've been doing some tests. So I have these two Skaven here in particular. These are kind of old hammer, like old plastic Skaven. And yeah, I don't play Skaven. I haven't really used Skaven. I haven't really painted Skaven before. I just had these two plastic guys. One of them was missing a sword. Oh, there's a little bug. It's like a little tiny beetle crawling around. You know, I hadn't painted them before. So anyway, he lost his sword, so I basically took one from some of the Warcry, one of the war bands that I just picked up recently. But these are all speed paints. So this one here was sort of my first speed paint. It's a little more traditionally like what I would expect to do with the speed paints, just sort of like put on one coat. And I mean, you can see like I left, you know, this like the toes a little bit, you know, not brown, right? And then I went in with more of like this like kind of a Caucasian like light skin color to them, and I sort of felt like it kind of gave that rat, you know, like its hair is not so thick on the feet or the hands or something like that. All the hands are actually pretty dark still, but anyway, you know, the green is like okay. It's a little dark for my taste, and I wanted to get a little more yellows in it. You can see in the back there, I put some of the more yellowish green on it, and I did the shadows a little darker and stuff, but I was trying to get a good range of lights and darks. So anyway, the next experiment was this one here, where you can see this white is really prominent. You know, I want the white on the priestess in particular. I wanted to prove, like, hey, can I use these speed paints for these Goblin Slayer miniatures? And I think that these Skaven really prove that. I think that I kind of built up, you know, started with lighter, like a thinned down speed paint, and then kind of let that dry and added another, like, other layers to go sort of darker and darker with it. And I think that worked for these. I have gotten a number of other things, I guess. I mean, you guys had seen I'd gotten an airbrush, so I have used that for the first time, really, I guess last weekend. So that's the little air compressor. I got a hose for it, and a little quick connect on the other end to the airbrush. This is the airbrush here. It's a Reaper Vex. As far as I know, it's just a Badger airbrush, but it is it's kind of Reaper branded. And yeah, you know, I just looked up some reviews on it, and it seemed like a good airbrush. I wanted, like, you know, something nice. And so I think that's going to work out well. It's been really great for doing the base coating on stuff. So I have the set of like Necron terrain for, I guess I can show you over here, for, what is it, Pariah Nexus. So you can see that's all going to be like kind of green and yellow and metal color, and it looks really cool. And so I started kind of mixing my first green and just adding that over this black prime. And what I did was I clogged my airbrush for the first time, right? And I looked up a video, you know, some beginning airbrush videos, and they were like, yeah, you know, it's good to mix your mix your airbrush colors separately if you're mixing them yourself, and then pour them into the cup. And I was like, that's what I figured. So so I've got to try that again. I've got to build up my confidence on that. But you can see, even, you know, just for like sort of a green base coat on this, the very dark green, you know, I left the door kind of black. That's going to be metal at some point, but sort of metal colored. But yeah, I think it started out, you know, pretty good for that coat. You know, there'll be kind of a lighter green over it, some yellow, and to kind of get that glow, that like green glow on it. And I think it's going to look really good. So I'm having fun trying out the airbrush, getting some new models. With these Necrons, I did go ahead and undercoat, or base coat, not base coat, prime, I should say, the rest of the Necrons. So they're all in black over here. And, I think I should be able to be done with them pretty much by the end of the year. I did do some assembly, putting together the Necron Overlord and whatever that other dude is there. I don't know, Plasmancer or something like that. And I've got a Gene Stealer in there that I'm going to try. But a lot of this is really just, getting used to my airbrush, trying to see like what can I do to speed some of this up. Some speed paints, some airbrushing, really so I want to get color on all of these models. I do not want to have a bunch of models sitting around unpainted. Now I did, because I was getting into those Necrons, and I do feel like I'm going to have them all done here in the next 3 or 4 months, probably, right? I kind of treated myself, and I got this model here, Illuminor Xeris. This is one of the original Necrons, Necrontier, I guess, originally, that I think was instrumental in the, whatever you call it, transference or something like that, where the Necrontier, were stripped of their fleshy bodies, and their consciousnesses were transferred into these, robotic cyborgs, and they were basically made in, or robots. They were basically made into these robot zombies. The Necron dynasty that Xeris is a part of, as far as I know, is the one that's kind of the most interested in trying to discover a way of reversing the process, and really, or is just like at the most into the kind of like the mechanical and biomechanical and just sort of like existential part of Necron on life. So you can see here he's like sucking the genetic, organic material from this living person. And anyway, it's an interesting, it's obviously kind of a pretty dark part of the lore, but it's an interesting one. And I realized, I'm like, I kind of like these Necrons that I'm painting up. I'm like, I was kind of thinking in them as being part of this dynasty in particular, and just the fact that they made this model, and this model is not, I don't think it's that old, and it's available now. I was like, I'm gonna get this for myself. There are no rules for this in Kill Team. This is not for my Necron Kill Team. This is just for my own personal enjoyment, just to have something like lore related to the Necrons that I find compelling, like it engages my imagination. So I did get some Skaven, because again, these Skaven came out quite well, and I'm interested in having maybe this Goblin Slayer band going in at dungeons and fighting some rat people, right? Fighting some goblins, fighting some orcs. I want some more of these models. These are Games Workshop's Skaven, what is it, clan rats, something like that. They're kind of like the most sort of fantasy, just normal, like, rat people with spears and swords and shields and maces and axes and that kind of thing. I think they look quite cool, and I'm really interested in assembling these this weekend. Is probably what I will be doing, getting them primed with my really cool airbrush that makes that much more pleasant, and then speed painted very similarly to these, which I think will get these 20 Skaven done in a reasonable time. It's probably still going to take me, several weeks, even if I'm just kind of speed painting them, but it'll only take me several weeks. It shouldn't take me like three months or something, right? So I also ordered some captives. So this is a thing that I realized, and I don't think it's going to play very well with YouTube. It's not going to play very well with Instagram either. I think what I'm going to do, and I'll put a link to my Instagram in the description, I guess, if I haven't already, but I'll also put a link to my Pixel Fed. Okay, so there's this kind of alternative open source, what is it called, like federated, I don't know, social media system, right? I was on Instagram, and I'm subscribed to several people on Instagram, and when I went and I looked at their feeds, or I went and I looked at the tags that I'm following, I realized it is not showing me all of that stuff. It is showing me an algorithm that is giving me highlights from these things, and it's serving me a bunch of ads, and I get it from like Facebook, Meta's perspective. But I'm sick of that stuff, right? Pixel Fed actually is great. Like it's really clear about like what sort of content you can put on it in their guidelines, and it's really clear and easy how to tag things. This is not safe for work. I am so inspired personally by kind of the fantasy worlds and aesthetics and things of, sort of the classic fantasy painters like Frank Frazetta and Boris Vallejo, and like a lot of the, people that worked, kind of European artists that were featured in stuff like Heavy Metal Magazine and things like that. And even, like Goblin Slayer, right? Like it's Goblin Slayer's really more about like kind of the Goblin Slayer, like dealing with his personal trauma in like a Dungeons and Dragons world. It's a really cool like story, but it does kind of have that, like, these goblins are like, capturing ladies and doing, unpleasant things to them, right? And I really want to have like those dungeon delving missions where it's like, okay, we have to rescue the captured ladies, right? I guess I mentioned, maybe I didn't, that I was planning to get a 3D printer. I did get it. It's not set up. That's another one of the reasons why I really want to get all of these minis finished, is because I'm going to want to be printing more scenery and terrain and things like that. And I'm really excited about painting that up with my airbrush. Oh yeah, so I had gotten 2-hour dungeon crawl, and they have a newer edition, basically, of their fantasy dungeon crawler, which is like Warrior Heroes Adventures in Tamarill, something like that. I did order that, and it did come in. I'm really excited about reading through that. I did get to play a game with my buddy, a couple games of Kill Team recently. In fact, he's probably going to be around this coming weekend, so we may be able to play Kill Team again. I did get to play with my Necron Warriors. It was before I'd actually finished all of them. I only had a couple of them finished, or maybe even one of them that really like worked well. So anyway, maybe this weekend coming weekend we'll be able to play with at least my whole set of Necron Warriors. But it's great motivation. I really want to paint up the flayed ones. I want to paint up the Deathmark and Immortals that I have, and the HQ units and all that stuff. It's fun painting these, it's fun gaming with them, and I'm just having fun with this. So anyway, I hope that you guys are having fun checking it out with me, and I hope you'll join me again for more wargaming, tabletop wargaming videos and painting videos. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.